charged over a terror plot here in the United States. Authorities foiling a plot that was directed by factions of the Iranian government to bomb the Israeli and Saudi Arabian embassies in Washington, D.C. Plus, there was a plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States. What happens next in this story? Pretty scary stuff indeed. Joining us this morning, our Middle East expert, Dr. Phares. He's also a Fox News terrorism expert, advisor to the Anti-Terrorism Caucus in the U.S. House, plus an author as well. Dr. Phares, thanks for giving us some time. We've had you on the show before, and we've talked specifically about Iran and the danger that they pose to the U.S. and the rest of the world. So I have to ask, when you heard about this news yesterday as it broke, were you surprised?
Yeah, on the one hand, this was projected at some point in time because of the previous moves by the Iranian regime, such as expanding into Iraq, such as conducting terrorism in Lebanon, assassination of a former prime minister in Lebanon years ago via Hezbollah, what they have been doing in Yemen, in Eastern Arabia, their penetration of Africa, I mean, on and on. But that was a surprise, the fact that they were so daring. The fact that they have tasked a cell or individuals to commit, assassination, high-profile assassination in Washington, D.C. We're not talking just another city of the United States. It meant that they have made a decision to cross the red line, and they knew that by doing so, eventually the United States knows that there is a return address, there is a P.O. box somewhere. Mm-hmm. So have they made that decision? It's something that we need to analyze.
At one time in our past, if a country had plotted to do this, they would be an outcast to the rest of the world. Will Iran find themselves in that situation?
Well, it all depends on our diplomacy. If we don't ask the international community to go ahead and isolate Iran seriously this time, then the Iranians won't be isolated. I mean, we cannot do it by ourselves. But if we actually are changing our, direction in foreign policy, because remember in 2009 when the Iranians were crushing their own revolt, their own spring, our position actually helped them at the time in 2009. We said, well, we're not going to meddle, it's not our business, so on and so forth. Now it's a different story. Now the Iranian regime has threatened us in our own capital and threatened two allies. Two allies that dislike each other. You have Saudi and Israel. So this is a moment whereby the Arabs, Israelis, the West should work together on isolating this regime.
We've been so distracted with Libya and other skirmishes and conflicts in the Middle East. This, at least in my opinion, Doctor, should bring Iran to the front, to the top of mind, to the country in the Middle East that poses, number one, the biggest threat, and number two, I think loves being a thorn in the side and doing certain things to provoke the United States. Do you agree?
Of course, Iran's regime is the one that brought this onto, the scene. It's not Paraguay that was trying to do it. The Iranians have been sending signal after signal that they're up for a problem. They have sent a task force, a naval task force, to the Suez Canal, if you remember, a few months ago, into the Eastern Mediterranean. That's where Israel is. That's where our Sixth Fleet is. Then they have concluded an agreement with Venezuela, with Hugo Chavez, that they're going to send their ships and submarines to the Caribbean. And just last week, they made a statement that they're going to have some of these vessels, coming cruising along the East Coast. At the same time, they inform the world that they have now missiles that they can use against the West. What does that mean? This is preparation. This is provocation. And now this action, I think there's something wrong going on inside the regime because their estimate, their assessment of us maybe is that we're not going to react the way we should have. And that's probably what explains their action.
No, I think you're exactly right on that. I think they're trying to see how far they can push, whether it be holding hostages, if you will, those hikers, and then accepting the money and say we're going to release them, and then, oh, no, wait a minute, we've got to have one more person sign off on the release. It's small things like that. And now this is a big thing. This was something that they wanted to happen right here. And I'll be real honest with you. I'm worried about the way we're going to handle this. You've got to be decisive, you've got to be quick, and you've got to handle this in the right way. If not, you're looking at a major conflict coming up on your hands.
This is going to be the major measurement of how we handle foreign policy, not just Middle Eastern issues, foreign policy in general. This is a threat coming by an enemy. I mean, someone wants to blow up embassies in your capital.
Right.
This is an enemy, and this is an act of war. So first, in the words, are the words going to be at the level of the incident, of the threat? Is the administration and Congress, are they going to use the term, this is an act of war? We're going to see this week.
Yeah, good points. Great insight on this story. Dr. Waleed Phares, a Fox News terrorism expert, advisor to the Anti-Terrorism Caucus in the U.S. House. Thanks for being here with us on Memphis Morning News.
Thank you so much for having me.